Hi everyone, Pete here. I just wanted to take a minute to break down what I'm seeing in IWM in the near future and also in the distant future. Just so you're aware, the way that I run my analysis on stocks and futures and crypto is I like to pair volume and price with Wyckoff, and then also finally with ICT concepts. So you're going to see a blend of all that in my analysis. So let me know if you have any questions or if it's difficult to follow. But I also try to include visuals to make it as easy as possible. To start, I believe what I believe is IWM has been in accumulation since early 2022, and it's actually in the final stage or phase D of accumulation, which is SOS on the weekly. You can even to break it down a little bit, you could see that in 2021 we were in the final stage of distribution where we had the buying climax, up thrust, UTAD, LPSY, and then we sold down. So if we look here, compare it to what we see here, you can see we're in the final phase of, we had the spring, which matches, you could also see that volume matches this accumulation. The buying volume is steadily increasing after this spring, which can also be thought of as manipulation down. So we had this final grab of liquidity, we came up, and now we have been in SOS. So then what now? So I wanted to show you a few other things that I was looking at to think about where liquidity is and where the likelihood of it running to. And you could even see actually this red box here. This is what I'm targeting. So 275 to 300-ish is my target. And if you think about it, it makes sense for IWM to be in accumulation because with rate cuts, hopefully in the near future, who should benefit most from those rate cuts? Most likely small caps. So here's what I'm thinking. So to kind of give you an idea of where I got this target, it's ICT standard deviation, but also if you run some fib extensions, and I drew this actually from, sorry, let me hide this. If you draw a fib from the COVID lows to the recent highs back down to the spring here, you are going to get the 786 falls within that 275 range. So this is my target, the 786 to the 1, and that's what I'll be looking out for over the next couple months once this SOS plays out. So let me hide this because it's kind of noisy. And let's start bringing out some of the other things I had drawn out here. And I'll explain it all. So what I was looking at here is you could also see it's a rounded bottom within this 3-month fair value gap. One thing I wanted to call out is that you have relatively equal lows here and sell side. It would have to be a disaster for us to make it all back down here after as like the final distribution after this accumulation. Who knows? Obviously, there's a lot of like people who are very, very bearish on the market right now for many different reasons. But the one thing about relative equal highs or relative equal lows is price tends to be, they tend to be a magnet, and price tends to find its way to those levels. As an example, let's see here, you had relative equal highs here, came down and eventually blew through it. You can find many, many examples of relative equal highs where it eventually blew through. So just something to be on the lookout for. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. It's just something that I noticed as I was going through this. All right, so you could also see I don't pay for TradingView. Reason being is because I don't really use indicators while I'm trading or my analysis besides volume. Anyway, so you can see rounded bottom. We're in the final phase of accumulation. So now if we want to go down, drill down a little bit further, Uh, so the one thing I wanted to call out is that there's a weekly fair value gap here, which we'll get into. And then there was this weekly fair value gap here. And the interesting thing is, and also actually, by the way, if you don't know what a fair value gap is, think about it also like any other gap or imbalance. It's where there was an explosive move, and usually the market likes to re-explore for proper price discovery. And so the way that you draw them out is you'll see proper price discovery where the wicks are all touching. So so here we sold off, came back up, and sold off again. So that was a healthy move. But here we sold off and never came back up here to test this area, which created a fair value gap. And you can see that's exactly where we rejected so far here. I do think that we'll retest, but we also had a weekly fair value gap that was created here. So you have this wick, and then the other wick, and we finally came back up to test it, came back down, and this is where I would expect hopefully some more upside move to start taking out these buy side levels. You could also see that this has been acting as demand as we stair step higher. We continue to make higher highs and higher lows, which is also bullish. So if we zoom in on the daily, you can see that we have left some gaps or imbalances behind that will probably be re-explored. So what I'm thinking is we can kind of see, sorry, I need to get a better setup. I'll have a better setup tomorrow. We can see maybe we take out some of these buy side levels and then come down to fill these imbalances before maybe pushing back up. Just something to be cautious of. You don't want to be full bull here. You want to just make sure that you have validation that we're ready to move up. And you could also see there's another rounded bottom. We're making our way up to these buy side levels where there's liquidity. And then you have some sell side levels down here that were generated internally in an hourly fair value gap. So I'm thinking we at least test this hourly fair value gap before pushing up further. Ultimately, want to take out this buy side level in the 245 range and make our ways to new all-time highs. The other thing to call out too, as far as like reason why I'm bullish too, is if you draw a fib from bottom to the top here, you could see that we bounced off the 786 and we're slowly making our way higher here. So hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or any feedback, but just wanted to explain why I'm bullish on IWM in the near future. So thank you.